seems like I am a man on the run today. I literally left one meeting to make sure I made it for Facebook Live. I got in the door about 10 minutes till 8 and got everything set. Looking very forward to being with you tonight. It's going to be an interesting talk, one of those talks that I get asked a lot of questions about. Again, my name is Scotty Sanders. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it very, very much. And if you don't know my story, my purpose in life is to encourage and empower others to live, lead, and to finish well. See, I'm an international leadership consultant, and I get to work with leaders all over the world, and it's just a privilege to get to do that. And the subject I'm going to talk to you about tonight is one of those things I'm asked quite a bit. You know, how do you handle this situation? So I'm going to be talking about, kind of break the cycle of don't quit yet, because a lot of people they get in a job situation, they may be unhappy, and they decide I need to just change jobs. And so I want to talk through that with you a little bit about maybe getting a better appreciation, a better understanding of what that may look like. So again, I will talk about how to break the cycle. So don't quit yet. Hang on for a little while longer. And I want to talk through some things that I talk through some of my high-paying clients with as they're working in their business, or they're thinking about leaving and changing to another job, or they're dealing with employees. So maybe some things tonight that I share with you will be beneficial. Again, I'm going to be talking about break the cycle and don't quit yet. And some of you are probably saying, but Scotty, you have no idea the job that I have to deal with. You would quit too. Well, let me at least give you another perspective to think about before you pull the trigger on that, okay? So my friend Kevin Lynham, he'll be taking some good notes for us. And I want you to be thinking about, as you listen, maybe that good quote or best takeaway. We're going to bring this back by popular demand. Post what you think is the best quote of the night, or maybe the biggest takeaway, and then we'll pick the number one and we'll repost that back out. How does that sound? All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to be talking to you about, break the cycle, don't quit yet. And so here's 3 factors that you should consider before you quit. All right. Here's the first one, and you're going to say, what does that have to do with me? And it's a fair question. But the first one is always take into account turnover. No one wants to see that. As an employee, you don't want to see that happening with you, that you're leaving one job after another. But on the other, for a company to make an investment in you, the time that it took for them to recruit you, to interview you, to do the background check, all the things involved, there's an investment there in training, right? They took a chance on you. And so for you to quit, and that turnover cost for them can be significant. It's estimated by the experts somewhere between 6 and 9 months. And that's things like, advertising for a new position, interviewing, loss of productivity, customer service, reputation in the marketplace. And also, when people start leaving, it makes other employees somewhat disengage a little bit, because they start saying, well, if he left, maybe something's not right at this company. So again, that would be the first factor that should be considered, is turnover costs. Now that's really more employer related, but I'm always like anybody I work with, my thing is to bring them value. I want to leave there. I want to leave things better than when I got there. I don't want to cost the company I work with money. So again, it doesn't mean I don't ever leave, but I don't leave flippantly. I factor in, what is this going to cost this company, this organization? So that would be the first one you need to consider. Here's another one. Okay, I'm going to tell you, the next one may be as strange as the first one, but the second one is to consider is what I call the weak leader tax. Now, what is that? What I mean by that is this, that if you're not happy there and you decide to go, you need to factor in, if it's a weak leader, the tax would be, if they're paying you above market, it might be worth you staying there. You can put up with it. Again, that would be hard for me to do, but I know some people say, listen, I'm willing to stay there. He is a jerk. She is a jerk. I call it the weak leader tax, because they pay me 20% more. And I'd have to get at least 20% more to stay and work with someone that I consider a weak leader. And especially if now I'm willing to work for a weak leader if I feel like they're learning and growing and can get better. But if they lack integrity, I'm out the door really, really quick. So that's the second one, a weak leader tax. Number 3 would be, when you quit your job, it damages your reputation as well. probably this year, I would say I've probably reviewed 60 to 70, 75 resumes. And one of the things I look for in resumes, I look at their work history. And if I see that they have changed jobs often, that is a red flag. If someone worked here for 12 months and 8 months and 18 months and 22 months, that's a problem for me, because usually what happens if people leave early is this. They're low producers, or number two, that they're just never going to be happy no matter where they are, and probably the reason is in themselves. Okay, so those would be the three things. Turnover, I call it the weak leader tax, and then also, I'm gonna get a sip of water real quick. And then number three, it damages your relationship. Again, as someone that interviews a lot of people, looks at a lot of resumes, I look at that turnover ratio of how often is that person changing jobs. Now, for some people that's never done one job, that doesn't mean they're better than the other, but if they're leaving their jobs on a frequently basis, every 12, 18 months, that's probably a problem. Okay, so some things to think about. Now, let's talk about new job phases. All right, I'm gonna walk you through. My voice here is messing up. 4 phases for a new job. All right, and here's the first one. And I've got to experience this with some family members before, and it's the word excitement. I remember talking to my son when he got a job 3.5 years ago, and he was just so excited. I mean, he was thankful, he was energized. Even after he'd been there for a while, it had the halo effect. Everything was perfect, right? It's that excitement phase. You know what I'm talking about. You go there and everything looks great, seems great, it's wonderful. And then the second phase is the frustration phase. You know what I'm talking about. You get there and you start looking under the hood, behind the curtain a little bit, and you start seeing things are not exactly what I thought they were. It's not what it appeared to be. It's not what they told me in the interview. It's not what I thought in the first month when everybody was nice and nobody was a jerk. But then you start noticing, and then this can bring about frustration. It can bring about, a little bit of confusion. Now, what do I do in this situation? And then that leads to a little bit of what I kind of follow this path of. It's a little bit of that initial shock. Oh my goodness, am I going to need to change jobs? What is that going to mean for my family? What about, can I get another job? All those things, a little bit of that initial shock. And then you go into denial, that you start kind of looking over things a little bit. You're in this denial that this is, it's not as bad as you thought it was. And then it goes into fear. It's kind of like shock a little bit, but this goes a little bit deeper of really the fear of, going out and looking for another job, the loss of income. Do you have enough savings? What about insurance and those kind of things? And then you'll find yourself even getting anger happening, because you get a little angry at the situation. You get angry at the people that you work with, the people that hired you, even the company. And then you get into a justification of why you need to go ahead and go. You start justifying or rationalizing all the reasons why you need to leave. And then you get to the place where it's acceptance. This is going to happen. It's a done deal. It's just a matter of time when I find something else, or you quit before then. So that's the phase 2 of frustration. And then the third phase is looking. Okay, that's when you've accepted. Now you're going to start looking for something else. You may not have left your employment, but you're starting to look elsewhere. Now, some people will just leave. That's probably not the wisest thing to do. Oftentimes, you've really left, but you haven't left, if you know what I'm talking about, right? So when you start in this third phase, to escape your frustration, you start looking for a way out. How can I get out? What other job opportunity could be out there? And that's what you start doing. You're going to find a way to get out of there. So you start looking you start searching, internet and job searches and all that kind of stuff, asking friends, and on that it goes, right? So, and then what happens? So you hear those 3 phases, and then what we do, we repeat these 3 phases again. We go to the next job and we're excited, right? And then we get frustrated again, and then we start looking again, and then we repeat it. All right. Now I'm going to throw in a phase 4 that I want you to consider. All right. Phase 4 before you make that move, and that's this. It's recommitment. All right. It's almost like in a relationship. Sometimes in marriage, you may get that place of saying, man, this isn't what I thought it was, or maybe you don't feel a certain way anymore. You need to go back and revisit. I call it recommitment to the relationship, recommit to your place of employment. And that's totally your choice. That's a choice that you can make. It's your attitude, really, of choosing to do that. Redream the dream. What got you excited to start out with, why you decided to join that company? Go back and revisit about their mission, their vision, their values, what they're trying to do, how well they took care of you on the onboarding process, whatever it may be. You may want to look at setting some short-term goals. Maybe give yourself a little bit of breath and say, maybe I need to set some goals here over the next 3 or 6 months and go after the goals. Will energize you a little bit. They'll add a little fuel to your passion. Get some wins under your belt. Nothing like getting wins, and wins leads to momentum. When you get a little momentum go, you never want to quit when you've got momentum happening. And then here's another one that you may want to think about doing. It's getting a little outside perspective. Not talk to people in the company, but talk to people that know you, but they're busy savvy. They know you, they know companies, they know how organizations work. Get an outside perspective. I think that could be helpful to you. And here's the thing. It is possible that you're the problem. Not definite, but it is possible. And here's the thing you don't want to do. If you're the problem, you're the issue, when you change jobs, you're taking the problem with you. You've not solved the problem. It's still with you. So a lot of times we leave a job because we're unhappy and frustrated, but we take the main issue, us, with us to the next job. So really get an outside perspective, someone that will give you some radical candor, that can speak some truth into you. And that might be helpful. So, all right, those are the 4 phases. So again, real quick, excitement, that early phase, frustration, you start looking, and then I want you to think about the recommitment phase. At least try that before you go to the looking phase. Okay? So something to consider. Now, let's say you've lost your job at this company, or let's say you decided to leave the company. All right? One or the other. Transitions happen. You're leaving. It was your choice or not your choice. All right? So let me give you I like to say some sage advice here. This is Scotty. I'm your friend. I want to really help you to think through when you leave a place, how best to leave. Some things that maybe you shouldn't do. And I see this happening a lot. I really do. And it doesn't help the person. It doesn't help the company. And again, I think giving some serious thought to of what's your exit strategy, how you want to leave, and leaving well. So here's the first thing I would say. Don't be negative about the company. Don't be negative about it. Don't speak negative, and don't write anything negative. We live in a day that you can just, put anything out there at any time, and you can do that. And listen, you have the right to do it. It's just not the right thing to do. You can do it. I would just say I totally disagree with someone doing that. I would guard your words. Don't do anything that would be, hurtful, painful to other people, hurtful or painful to another organization. I can just tell you right now, if you were to come in and interview with me for a company or an organization I work with, and you started being negative to me about your former boss or the employer, that would be a huge red flag. I wouldn't say I wouldn't hire you. There would probably be a 1 or 2% chance I could still hire you, but there's a high chance I would never hire you if you were being negative about your former employer. Now listen, you can get some things across without being that way, and maybe things were not perfect, and you want to learn from that. So again, don't be negative in the words that you say and the things that you write. Okay, and the second thing there, I'd say focus on yourself and how might you improve. Focus on yourself. When people do transition, I'll get a number of people that will call me because hey, Scotty, do you have a connection here? Or what would you suggest to me? And here is my standard line, even with close friends, it's this. I want to help you any way I can, but in order for me to help you, I need you to do this. I need you to take some time, and I need you to go back and revisit why you left or why they let you leave, right, or helped you to leave, and what were the factors that led to that, and what are the takeaways? What are some things that you can learn from that you need to learn and grow from that, so you don't take that to your next work experience. And I said, once you do that, let's come back and talk about it. I want to hear the 3 or 4 or 5 things that you learn, how you'll do that better, how you can grow from it. And at that point, I'll tell people I'm willing to probably give you what I call a qualified recommendation, which means you're not perfect, but here are some good things about this person. I've seen this person grow. But if that person's not willing to reflect and really dial in for a while to look at themselves and what they did wrong, how they could have done things different, I'm not going to recommend them. I'm letting you know that. Don't call me for a recommendation if you're not willing to do that. So again, focus on yourself, how you might improve. Here's the third one. It's really connected to the second one. Is learn from your mistakes. What mistakes that if you got laid off or let go, don't point the finger. What we tend to do is look out the window when that happens, when we really need to look in the mirror and say, what was my part in this? And maybe it was a lot of theirs, but focus on what you need to learn, what you need to take away, and what are the lessons there. And listen, that's a painful thing for a person to go through. It is a painful thing. But pain is a great teacher for you too. So what can you learn that you can say, I want to make sure I don't make that same mistake at the next place I work. If you'll do that, man, that's going to be huge for you in the future. The reason why a lot of times people lose job after job after job is they take the same problems with them to the next job. If you're going to go through a painful experience, at least learn something from it. So that's what I would say to you is, those are 3 thoughts behind when you transition from an organization, your decision, their decision, you need to do. Don't be negative. What are some things that you can learn? And then make sure that pain you go through, that you have some takeaways. Now, again, I want to encourage you, if this helped you tonight, I'd love to know that you enjoyed it. Maybe put a like or put your name out there. But also post the biggest takeaway. And I'm just going to tell you, just because I deal with enough people, there are some good takeaways. And I'm not talking about me. I'm not bragging about me by any means. But man, there's some stuff here that I need to learn from, you need to learn from, and some things that can take away that can make a difference in your life. I have no doubt about that. But what was maybe a big takeaway or maybe a top quote tonight? Post that. And then I'll come back and select the number 1, and we'll repost that and give you credit for that. And then don't forget to hit the share button. That's all you have to do is hit the share button. That's one of the ways that you can help me to get this message out, to help more people by just hitting the share button. Let's do it together. Just hit that share button, and it will go out to some other folks. Well, listen, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I want you to keep leading well until we catch up next week. See you then.